you launch this war, if you guys escalate again, it would be very simple for us to shut down the Suez Canal. Because why not? You shut down the Suez Canal, and Yemen's got the Bab el-Mandeb Strait down here covered. The whole Red Sea is now inaccessible to the entire planet. Something odd happened over the past 2 days. A U.S. American liquefied natural gas tanker was hit by a drone in Damietta port in Egypt. Now, the Damietta port, I'll show you a map in a second here, is actually located on the Mediterranean. Now, some of you might hear this and say, Jackson, that sounds like a false flag operation. And while it's true, it could be. I don't know. The foreign minister of Iran, Mr. Araghchi, did come out and insinuate that this was a false flag. He didn't say it. He didn't say this was a false flag. He didn't say that they're not responsible for this. He just kind of hinted at Israeli false flags in relation to the events in Egypt on the Mediterranean. But I have questions as to whether or not I believe this was a false flag. Okay, and I'm going to explain why. So let's take a look at this story. An American LNG tanker was hit by a drone Damietta port in Egypt. Another vessel that was docked was also hit allegedly. Now, the story here is that the U.S. LNG tanker was hit, and the fire was so large that it actually spread to a Greek tanker ship that was located nearby. So there you have the giant plume of smoke. After the ship was hit, it was taken out to sea so as to ensure that the fire would not spread to other ships. Footage shows crews working to put out fire on the U.S.-owned floating platform in Egypt following a drone attack, with initial reports that Iran struck it. So I don't know. That looks like a lot of damage to me. We'll see if they can salvage that ship. Maybe they can. Who knows? I'm not an expert on vessels and impacts of vessels of this size, but what I can say is that does not look like a pretty picture. Now, it's worth noting that there were some unusual targets that were hit in the Ramadan war against Iran. Like we know for a fact that Iran did hit UK bases in Cyprus. That was underreported, but a fact. There were a lot of reports that Iran hit NATO bases in the south of Turkey, and Turkey, as they call it. But there's been no photos, no satellite, no videos to prove that any NATO base in Turkey was hit. And in fact, my good friends in Turkey, our comrades in the Vatan party, say that it's all a bunch of BS, that there was no U.S. bases, NATO bases in Turkey that were hit by Iran, and this was actually false flag, sort of information being put out by the United States. Now, we do know that, anyway, Cyprus was hit. Greece, question mark, Greece was hit, right? I'm having a bit of a brain fog on that one. So it's not to say that, like, something such as this, Mediterranean target getting hit, is out of the question. But this is what we had from the Egyptian officials. Egypt officially confirms 2 vessels were struck by drones in Damietta port, including the U.S.-owned Energos Winter LNG storage ship. Egypt says the cause of the incident will be investigated. And I saw that Sisi came out and said the same. Oh, we're investigating what went on here. But they put out no official statement thus far. The New York Times, however, has. The New York Times says that Iran was behind the drone attack on these 2 ships at the Damietta port. Now, some people are asking, how could that possibly have happened? Well, it's pretty simple. Just look at a map. Pretty simple. If Iran has the capacity to hit Cyprus in the Mediterranean, if Iran has the capacity to hit Israel, and if they have the capacity to hit Jordan, who's to say that they can't hit Egypt? Well, I definitely think that they can hit Egypt. I mean, just the other day, wasn't everyone freaking out about whether or not Iran was going to launch a ballistic at Ukraine much further away? Obviously they can hit Egypt. But I guess people would, I guess the bigger question here is necessarily why would they be hitting some random American LNG tanker on the port of Damietta in Egypt? Well, obviously, a random American LNG tanker holds no weight for military operations. Obviously, that military objectives, you can't believe that hitting a random ship is going to have any sort of impact on the conflict. It's just not. It's not. One tanker, what are we talking about here? But it's not about what was hit. And this is why I believe that Iran may have actually been responsible. It's not about what was hit. It was about where something was hit and when it was hit. As you probably all know, Saudi Arabia is about to declare war on Yemen. They've assembled a 14-country coalition. We'll be talking about this in our next story to confront Yemen. It just so happens to be like the third 12-plus nation coalition that has attempted to confront Yemen's Ansarullah and dislodge Ansarullah from their seat of government in Sana'a, Yemen over the past 3 years. Biden tried to do it. Trump tried to do it. Now Mohammed bin Salman is trying to do it. And the reason why is because Saudi Arabia has implemented and refuses to lift an air blockade, a siege on Yemen Sana'a International Airport. Also, there are proxy Saudi forces which have been operating in Yemen for some time, and they actually hold a fake seat of power. They're like the Juan Guaido of Yemen in Aden. So Yemen decided, well, we're going to shut down all Bab el-Mandeb access for Saudi ships. And it actually worked. There was a 50% decline in maritime traffic through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait directly after Yemen instituted this blockade on Saudi ships. So with the further escalation, with Saudi Arabia effectively declaring war, all they have yet to do is launch the invasion or the initial moves. We're effectively seeing the final days before a major Saudi-Yemeni war. What is Iran doing here? Remember, I said it's about where they struck and when they struck it. So now you understand the win. The win is on the precipice of a major war between Saudi Arabia and Yemen at a point in time when Yemen has shut down. Where? They've shut down right here, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. They've shut it down for Saudi ships. Now, the where as to where Iran struck this U.S. LNG tanker also plays into this story. Obviously, hitting an LNG tanker at Damietta Port on the Mediterranean, very close to the Suez Canal, it shows Saudi Arabia and it shows the whole world that if you launch this war, if you guys escalate again, it would be very simple for us to shut down the Suez Canal. Because why not? You shut down the Suez Canal and Yemen's got the Bab el-Mandeb Strait down here covered. The whole Red Sea is now inaccessible to the entire planet. Oh, I should say the entire planet minus the countries that are chill with Iran and Yemen, which happen to be China and Russia. In fact, Yemen has an agreement with China stating that they continue, safe passage in the Red Sea for as long as they'd like. Yemen, by the way, is also now publicly discussing the idea of charging tolls on the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. I mean, it's worked for Iran. Iran is making a lot of money, and they will make a lot of money in the foreseeable future, so long as they continue charging tolls on the Strait of Hormuz. Why shouldn't? The question is not why would Yemen charge tolls in the Red Sea. The question is why wouldn't they? Has anyone on the face of the planet been really kind to Yemen as of late? So why should Yemen allow all these countries that are so unkind to them, trying to kill them all? Why should they allow them to cross through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait free of charge? If I was a ship company owner in a nation that was unfriendly with the honorable people of Yemen, I would be gracious. I'd view it as the best case scenario that I had to pay Yemen a fine, because we know that the Yemenis don't play around. Paying a fine is kind of like the best case scenario for ship owners, right? Now, there's a lot of trade that goes through the Red Sea. If it gets shut down, and Iran is showcasing their capacity to shut down the Red Sea with this strike, is what I believe is happening. It's over. It's over. I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to defend yourself? How are you going to defend the And this is what it's all about, folks. You think anyone in the U.S. actually cares about, like, the ramifications of U.S. strikes on, Iranian strikes on a U.S. base in the Gulf region? They don't care. They don't care if they have to evacuate a base. They don't care if they lose soldiers. What all anyone cares about is the global economy. And you shut down the Red Sea at both ends, well, you've shut down the entire global economy. Think of the Red Sea as the global choke point for oil trade, liquefied natural gas, bulk cargo carriers, whatever it may be. Okay, 10 to 16% of global seaborne trade passes through here every single year. 8.6 to 9.3 million barrels of oil pass through here every single day. That's roughly 8 to 12% of all global seaborne crude oil or petroleum products pass through the Red Sea. What else do we have? Liquefied natural gas. 8% of worldwide liquefied natural gas flows through the Red Sea. 1.6 billion tons of cargo per year pass through the Red Sea. So you really want to test Iran? I mean, the way I view it, Iran is showcasing to the entire world that Yemen's got the south of the Red Sea covered. They can shut this down, and they're happy to do it. And Iran can shut down the Suez Canal. Now, I told you that Iran came out and had some words about this strike on the liquefied natural gas tanker, the U.S. ship that was struck. Well, the foreign minister of Iran, Araghchi, he said, Egypt is considered a friend, an important partner in the region, and its security constitutes an utmost priority for us. We must all remain vigilant toward Israeli schemes and false flag operations that aim to undermine regional peace. The Zionist threat is clear, shared, and it fears Muslim solidarity. Now, read between the lines here. Mr. Araghchi is saying we do not intend to hit targets in Egypt. We're not denying that we hit the American LNG tanker. We hope for further shared, cooperation and solidarity with our brothers in Egypt. And we're simply trying to put out a message. That's what this statement reads to me. This statement reads to me as though the Iranians are saying, hey, look, we know that the Zionists are trying to play this whole thing up and make it look as though we're going to start hitting a bunch of targets in Egypt next. But the facts are much different than that. We don't intend to start hitting a bunch of random targets in Egypt. We're not going to turn Egypt into what we turned Dubai. We're just putting a message out there that our missiles can reach the Suez Canal. Our drones can reach the Suez Canal. That's the way I read it. Type a 1 in the chat if you agree. Also, we had further news today. Iran targeted a convoy of oil tankers escorted by the U.S. Navy through the Strait of Hormuz. Just another Monday or Friday. What day is it? Just another weekday. Another day on the job for the Iranians. Anyways, if anyone thinks that they understand how this conflict is going to escalate, if the U.S. does push for something radical and insane like a ground invasion, they'd be wrong. The only people who know how this is going to escalate and where this could all end and where it could go are the Iranians. And from the moves we currently see them making, it seems as though the sky is the limit. Before you leave, I want to say thank you for the support, because after 2 years of being banned, we are finally back home on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and also join as a member on our channel using the link at the top of the description. I rely on the generous support of viewers like yourself to get the truth out to as many people as possible. You can also support the show on Locals or Give Sin Go. The mainstream media and the powers that be are never going to stop attacking us for bringing the truth to as many people as we do. Thank you so much for your support.